You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Welcome all and welcome in. We are back. It's the Insight NFL Podcast, Wednesday, the 5th of November. It's a Wednesday, so that means we've got a massive trade talk show for SuperCoach as per usual. And Matt, it's just you and I tonight here. Secko, he gave us the nod. He just couldn't handle all the wet sock talk. That'll be changing into a dry sock. We think a bit of a changing of the guard, and I think he wasn't ready to let that one go, so he's missing out tonight. But how are you feeling week 10? And do you have a new, I'll hit you with it straight out the gate, new name for JJ Wet Sock McCarthy now that he's shown up and he's made quite a few million at the gate?
No, I don't, but that sock is slowly drying. But yeah, it's a big week. This week there's 4 teams on bye. There's a few. We saw the re-emergence of Brock Bowers, so he's back in a big way, and then obviously got Tucker Kraft who's gone down from there to find a replacement for him. And there's bits and pieces going on. So it'd be good to dive into this one and see what we can come up with. I think this is a big week. A lot of options.
Yeah, massive week. And with all the injuries, like you mentioned, Jane Daniels, another key one that's out for the year, we think. So 3 massive guys gone that we need to try and move things around for, on top of all the guys out on bye, like you said. So we will have a little live Q&A section at the end of this show, purely just for trade dilemma questions and SuperCoach or traditional fantasy. So make sure guys to get all those comments in nice and early, and we'll run through as many as we can, depending on the time, and we'll go from there. But Mav, with our trade show tonight, it was the NFL trade deadline that passed this morning for us here in Australia. A lot of trades went down, definitely more so on the defensive side of the ball. Starting off, we'll hit a couple key defense moves. Sauce Gardner, star corner for the Jets, gone to the Colts for 2 firsts and AD Mitchell. How do you feel about this one? Oh, and actually, I will loop up before getting this. Quinnen Williams, another star defensive players for the Jets, going to the Cowboys for a 2026 second, a 27 first, and Marzi Smith, one of their D tackles there. So all in all, Jets are clearing house, looking like they're playing for a quarterback either next year or 2027. Hopefully the Arch Manning sweepstakes perhaps. But Jerry Jones, he wasn't lying, said he had a couple of trades through the works, and Quinnen Williams for a first and a second plus a D tackle. How are you feeling about that from a Cowboys point of view?
Yeah, not fantastic. If I'm being honest, it was what bit of a Quinnen Williams is okay, but just a bit of a trade. Like, the guy's gonna be turning 28 soon, so it's not really a trade that I envision seeing and happy with. But it is what it is. It's a lot of picks to trade off, especially the second round pick should be pretty good. And I don't know, 2027 is a long way away, so it's hard to predict. But again, you'd probably think it's going to be a top 18 pick at least. So I know they're trying to work out in defense. They got Logan Wilson as well for nothing. That was okay. That deal, that was okay. I was fine with that. The 7th round pick is fine, but Jets sort of playing house, and I thought they did okay.
Yeah, they did well. They're absolutely kitted with picks for the next couple of years moving on. So I hope that they are on the way to the rebuild. And Sauce Gardner, like we mentioned, because the Colts are going to be scary on that front. They really needed help in that corner position. But a couple of offensive guys that's is what our bread and butter is here. Jacoby Myers to the Jacksonville Jaguars for a 4th and a 6th. Heading over from the Raiders, heaps of reports him getting traded before this one went through. I was hopeful that he might go to the Bills, but to the Jags, I think it really just paints a picture of how truly injured Brian Thomas Jr. is. That high ankle sprain could be longer than what we think, or maybe they just lack a lot of confidence in BTJ moving forward. And Travis Hunter on the IR, like we know. So how are you feeling about Jacoby Myers to the Jags? He'll probably get the start this week because I have nobody else, but against the Texans could be a tough one straight at the gates.
Yeah, look, they don't really trade a hell of a lot to get Jacoby in, so it's fine. But they must think Travis Hunter must be out for the majority of the year, and if he does, maybe they play more at corner than they do at wide receiver. Who knows? But because they now have a few options when healthy to chuck at wide receiver with Jacoby in there and Parker Washington, obviously, Brian Thomas, and I assume they're probably not done in the offseason. They'll probably make some more moves, you'd imagine. But it's hard. Jacoby probably doesn't hold a lot of fantasy value. He might in the short term, but not in the long term. So it's definitely a trade for the short term to get onto. But then again, I just don't rate the Jags that much either, or Trevor Lawrence. So I don't think Jacoby holds a lot of short-term value either.
Probably a good time to catch in if there is an opportunity to sell with his value now being freshly traded. You can buy into that hype and sell from there. Another wide receiver, probably in the same area code as Jacoby Myers, Rashid Shaheed from the Saints is heading to the Seahawks for a 4th and a 5th. So again, very similar trade. I actually don't mind this one for the Seahawks point of view and Sam Darnold mostly. We saw what Shaheed did with the Saints last year when offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak was there. Now, the new the Seahawks from this year, that offense has looked really good. Adding him into the wings is just going to make that offense roll even more. It's going to open things a whole lot more, hopefully, that running game. How are you feeling about Shaheed to the Seahawks, Mav?
I love Shaheed. I really like him as a player. It probably screams that Cooper Kupp is, I don't know, dying in the fantasy front and NFL front. That probably says a lot more about Cooper Kupp than it does Shaheed. But that's a loaded offense now. If they can even get 35-40% out of Cooper Kupp, and then Shaheed playing on the outside with Smith and Jigba, and maybe they swap Horton and Cooper Kupp around. And, it could be a really, really scary offense as well. There's a lot of potential there to have some big plays, especially with Shaheed. He loves the long ball, 40, 50-yard banger. He loves them. So, yeah, it should be good. That probably at least brings back Shaheed to be a bit more of a fantasy relevant player. Again, a bit of a crowded house, but let's see what he can muster up.
Yeah, the probably only person this affects negatively would be Torrey Horton. You'd think he slots into that role well and truly above him. Won't affect anything to Jason, of course. He's just too much of a stud. His target share will still be 30+%, like it has been all year long. That's really it for the trade deadline news that we've got. We will get into our injuries in tomorrow's show, our last show of the week. That's when we'll have all the final updates. Be able to give you guys the most accurate information before we get into week 10. Before we jump into trade-ins and trade-outs for week 10, we'll go through our unlimited league winner. And in a week that I thought, and I saw a lot of comments too in our WhatsApp group, that it was a fairly low-scoring week. Pretty surprising the score that our winner put up. But before I throw up his team, before we have a chat to it, this segment is brought to you by our friends over at NFL Helmets Down Under. If you're chasing full-sized NFL-signed helmets, memorabilia, or even NFL apparel, they've got a heap of cool vintage shirts and everything over there like that. Be sure to check out their store. Link to the website is below, or if you want to quickly flick on Instagram, you can find them at NFL Helmets _Down Under to see all their kits and range there. Unlimited winner. Mav, here we are. Total package, a more friendlier name than last week's winner. Whopping 610 points for the week. I'll run out his line out. Yeah, Lamar Jackson with the big captain there with 50. JJ, soon to be dry stock McCarthy. His running back CMC, Bijan, Ashton Genty. He's got Hampton there, but I imagine he would have had Henderson's points at the least. Not too much of a gap between him and Harvey on the week. Wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Drake London, Amon-Ra, CeeDee Lamb, Nico Collins, Stephen Villain. He has Egbuka and Hunter on the bench. Tight ends is where he's made an absolute killing. Trey McBride and Brock Bowers with the top score of the week. Tyler Ryan on the bench. His kickers, Tyler Loop, Borogalis. Defense, Cardinals. Nice little pick there between them and the Pats. Nice little play. You would have thought Cardinals would have, had been in a bit of trouble against Dallas, but they were not. And then Josh Allen at that quarterback position. So two really strong quarterback spots at this. Strong everywhere else, and then that tight end bump as well. So Mav, as per usual, we'll look at just players that he could look to move out for this week. He's got Jamar Chase and CeeDee Lamb there. He can bring in Egbuka, but then you'd think he's probably going to have to move on from someone, whether he moves Hunter or whatnot in there to kind of go around there. Is there any other moves you try and make besides that wide receiver position? Are you touching running backs? How would you make moves for week 10?
Look, this is not a knock on the total package at all, but it feels like he hasn't actually made a trade in the last few weeks. It feels like that team has been put together, after week 4, week 5. Maybe he's lost a bit of interest or given up because there's a lot of players there that you wouldn't think he'd actually have still, which he does. And this is a format that you can get pretty lucky. I mean, Hampton being a DMP was one, so that's sort of how I see it as. And same with keeping Bowers. You wouldn't have traded Bowers in, to be honest. So, that's. I think if I am correct, I think that's very lucky and good on him. Look, he does have a couple of trades he needs to make. I think he needs to get rid of. Obviously, Hampton's got to go, and Genty wouldn't be far off. And then the wide receiver room, obviously, very hit and miss. Nico and Drake London, I suppose he doesn't even know what score he can tune in any given week. I suppose that's due to Penix obviously being a bit of a disaster. But all in all, I mean, it's a still pretty good team despite what I think of being haven't checked his team for the last few weeks. But I could be wrong. I hope lets us know and sticks in my face saying I'm better than you. So let's hopefully he does.
No, all in all, a great team here from Wayne, Total Package. Wayne, if you are listening, please get in touch. We'll have some posts up on socials tomorrow. 18th overall in all of SuperCoach for week 9. So very impressive, very sharp minds in that Insight Unlimited League, and just over 670 total. So you absolutely love to see it. Trade-ins and trade-outs, Mav. As per usual, we'll jump straight into trade-outs. There is 4 teams on bye this week. The Bengals, Cowboys, Chiefs. Oh, really 3 teams on bye. Also the Titans, if you want to add them in there as well as a number. But a lot of guys to cover out. Starting out from the quarterback position, guys from the top that are on bye. Patty Mahomes, 26, just under 26.2 million, just under 30% owned. He's got a 69 break even, which is very nice. Yeah. He's on bye, but when he comes out after the bye, Mav, they've got Denver. I know that is without Pat Surtain. He's probably a couple of weeks away, but then Indy with the new Sauce Gardner, and then Dallas Cowboys, which should be a smash, and then Houston. So again, some pretty tough matchups coming up after that bye. I think for me, looking at my team this week, I do have Mahomes. I was thinking of doing a straight swap into Lamar Jackson, but we'll touch on that later. How are you feeling about Mahomes? Is he, if you have JJ McCarthy on your bench, are you happy to roll him in to cover this week, or do you think it's time to move on Mahomes while he's on the bye?
Yeah, again, he's probably in that mix of top 3 players at the moment where you wouldn't really want to move him out unless you have to. I mean, McCarthy this week's got Baltimore, so the matchup's not too bad. If you can just hold off on a week, maybe you can hold Mahomes and just keep playing McCarthy. If not, moving him on is also not a bad thing either. Or obviously a better player or the same sort of value player, obviously being Lamar Jackson, or Josh Allen if you don't own him. One of the two anyway. But I can understand both ways. To be honest, I can very much understand why you would trade him out, and or why you wouldn't if you want to sort of take the risk on McCarthy. So personally, I'd probably trade, but again, it depends on your team, and if you have to do other moves first or any injuries that you might need to do, I can understand fixing them and playing McCarthy for a week over trading Mahomes.
And other guys that we have here, Cam Ward, 20% owned still. Unbelievable. He's at 9.7 million. He's got a 14 break even. He is on bye. If you've been holding him still, you can definitely move him on now. Probably should have a couple of weeks ago. Dak Prescott, another guy that's on bye, 21.64 million, just under 4%, but his break even is 68. So again, prime time to move Dak if you do have him there. A couple of guys, Mav, that we've got. I'll nail this one out quickly. Jaden Daniels, of course, he's out for the rest of the year, so he's a nice clear move. Just under 22 million, definitely can find some options. But Jackson Dart, he's probably the biggest question. I know we were mentioning it might have been time last week to move him out. He just keeps performing. His break even is 14. He's made so much money on the year so far. I'll pull that up quickly to be exact. I should have had that in front of me before we got in there. But 15.3 million he's made, nearly 3 million this week. He's got Chicago, Green Bay, Detroit, and then New England before heading on to the bye. What are you looking to do with Dart? Like, are you waiting a couple more until that break even kind of tops out, or you're looking to cash in now.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where you would have had to have moved him on last week to get McCarthy in, technically speaking, and you can probably still do that. You can probably still do that, but again, you would have lost. You had maximum money last week to do it. So if you haven't done it, again, you've got one more chance. But if you're not, then I suppose you're just going to be holding him for at least another couple of weeks, and then maybe moving him on to a real bottom end player, and someone who's not playing, for example, and he could be a loop option, or he could be he could be like a $3.5 million player, and you're gaining $16 million out of him to use elsewhere on your other team, on your other positions that you need. So, one of the two. Look, personally, if you're sitting on your bench and you don't really need him, I trade him on. I understand injuries that can happen and stuff like that, but he's just sitting there doing nothing. If he's not starting for you, or if he's just sitting on your bench, you may as well use that cash elsewhere and upgrading. There's been a few injuries going around at the moment, so it's always hard to find dollars in the bank. He's obviously a clear one that you can make money on right now. So, yeah.
But then again, in turn, if you do need to play him this week, if you're like me, I don't have too many trades left. I think if I had him there, I'd be ready to just roll him out against the Chicago Bears. Should be a nice, easy matchup for Dart. That's really all the quarterbacks at the moment. Running backs, Mav, your guy, Javonte Williams, he's on bye at 38 break even. We were kind of saying the last couple of weeks, use him up to this bye period, then he's done his job, flip him off. Is that kind of the same token now that he is on the bye? You're happy to get rid of him? And then also your thoughts on Chase Brown, and how he's kind of turned it around. Is he one as well now that he's on bye? Clear move out.
Yeah, I mean, I think Javonte's got to go. Obviously, being on bye, he has to go. So that's fine. He's done his served his purpose now, and we're going to flip him over to a premium player or a better player. You can trade in nearly anyone that you don't have at this point, and that'd be good. That'd be a good trade. Chase Brown's an interesting one, isn't he? -4 break even. So it's depends where he's sitting. If he's on your bench, you probably still hold, but if you are starting him, unfortunately, at 13 million, it's one of those ones where you're going to have to be forced to trade unless you've got a running back on the bench where you can sub in for a week. Because look, Chase Brown will probably still make another million or two over the next coming weeks. But again, we're at the back end of the year now. Is Chase Brown going to be a locked-in starter for you to the end of the year, or can you move him on to maybe like a Saquon Barkley or a one of these other premium running backs, James Cook or something like that, or Josh Jacobs or someone sort of around that price range, and you have to spend an extra, I don't know, $2, $3, $4 million to get him in. It's hard to say, but I think depends on where he's on your squad. But if you're starting, then he's probably got to go.
Yeah, I think in turn, if he is on bye, if he's on your bench, he could be a nice little RB 5-6 option to kind of get you through these last couple of buys. If you have CMC, JT coming up, he's got a nice rest of season schedule. Could be a little cheeky option, but yeah, if you do have him in starters, move him on. A guy that shouldn't or doesn't require a lot of time, Isaiah Pacheco. He's at 6.7% owned still. Definitely get rid of him. He's taken a step back, and we're dealing with that MCL injury even while, and they're also on the buy on top. Other guys that we have here, Mav, I think Kamani Vidal, I think his dream run has come to a screaming stop. He's 8.5% owned, just under 9 million. He's got a 4 break even, but the next 2 games are up against Pittsburgh and Jacksonville, who have been lights out against their run. So I think Kamani Vidal definitely has to go. And in turn, Bill Krosky-Merritt, he's another one that has to go out of those cheaper options, just under 8%. 27 break even isn't too bad, but with the Commanders losing Jaden Daniels, that offense is just going to take a massive hit, and things will not look better for Bill Krosky-Merritt.
Yeah, I think Vidal can probably stay for a little bit longer. I've got him in my squad, and I don't really have a clear path to trade him on to anyone that's cheaper or going to make money on. So he's just going to stay there for depth at this point. There's no benefit moving him on for me just yet. So he can stay. And as much as I want to get rid of Bill, he's going to keep losing money at this point. So there's no real clear downgrade that you can do, and you probably only make $2-3 million on him anyway. So it's not really like you're making money. But again, he's there for a depth piece if you're desperate, and you should be really desperate if you need to play him. But I just don't think that he's in a position. I'm in a position to trade Bill. I'm not going to make money on it, so it's just a waste of a trade, in my opinion.
Yeah, save that trade. What about Travis Etienne, though, Mav? If you had him on your team, is he a guy that you'd be looking to move out? Just over 6% owned, 19 break even, just over 10 mil, but he's up against Houston this week. And again, that offense taking a massive hit with BTJ going down. They're going to be struggling to get the ball moving. How are you feeling about Travis Etienne moving forward?
He's got to go too. He's at a real awkward price, though, 10 million. That's like the ultimate mid-price player in this format. So, he's got to go if you own him. I don't really care for Travis Etienne. He's just very average. Not really doing anything. Not really breaking the bank, and not really doing scoring wise. He's not really out producing anyone. He's probably your worst player in your running back room if that's the case. So, absolutely. But then the problem is you have to put it on $7 to $8 to $9 million on him to fully upgrade, and that could be hard to find potentially. So, he has to go. There's no reason why to keep him.
Potentially, if you do have Dart and you're looking to move him, you could try and move those guys at the same time, work a bit of cash around on there. But running backs this week, again, pretty standout clear ones. Move off the guys that are on bye in Javonte. He's definitely done his job. And there's a couple of the guys there that you can keep if you need to, like Kamani Vidal, like Mav mentioned, save a trade. But wide receivers, Mav, one thing to kick off, we've got 3 studs all on bye. Jamar Chase, Rashee Rice, CeeDee Lamb. It might be a little hard. I know for me, I've got 2 of those guys on the bye, but I think I'm playing Tet and Roma Dunze this week. Would you be looking to move, like if you had to? Like I know at this point you don't really have that many trades up your sleeve, but how are you kind of managing this scenario? Because if you had all 3 guys on bye, for instance, is there one that you're moving out in particular over the other 2? How would you kind of play that?
Yeah, I don't really enjoy trading those players. They're on bye. I mean, they're producing at the moment, so there's no reason why you need to trade them. It's just a 1-week bye. I know it's tough, but you sort of can't. But in saying that, you can move to a Puka Nakua if you need to as well. If you want to get points in, or you're trying to protect your overall score, your overall ranking, et cetera, you might need to make a move like that, a sideways trade to protect it. But then again, Puka Nakua is holding an injury as well, so I think he's okay. But again, we're not too sure what his official status is just yet. But there's if you needed to do a sideways trade, Puka Nakua is probably the guy. Smith and Jigba is also another guy if you haven't got him. So if you need to do sideways trades, then I would be looking at something like that just to protect overall ranking.
Yeah, it's a tricky spot. I'd hate to be put with that decision myself, having those 3 guys all on bye at the once. I know my mindset. I'm trying to protect that overall ranking at the moment, try and see how it goes. But again, not too many trades left at this point of the year. It makes it hard. A couple of guys, though, real easy ones if you do have the trades to make and you do have these players. Brian Thomas Jr., of course, with that injury, just under 12 million, over 4% owned, has to go. DK Metcalf, Matt, this is one. He's at the 39 break even.
Oh, yeah.
He's been horrid the last few weeks. Again, because all the guys, like, you may not have anybody else that's playing this week. Might be a reluctant hold at this point. How are you kind of navigating DK? Do you have any faith in him over the next couple of weeks to produce anything?
No, he's got to go. I think if you do own him, I don't really enjoy the fact that Rodgers is throwing an ugly pill to him at the moment. I've said this before in many past episodes that DK Metcalf should be seeing 7+ targets a game, especially with no real competition for targets in this team. So it's not happening. Doesn't look like that's going to change anytime soon. So he'll have his big blow up games. Of course, it's DK Metcalf, but the consistency at the moment looks like it's the problem. So I don't really like how they're using him, and I don't like it in this format at all, where you have to play him. You have no choice. So yeah, he has to go, in my opinion. I just want to mention as well, I don't think he's on our list, but I will mention Robert Dunze on this list as well. We were very, very lucky that he had a DMP 0 this week that saved his break even, and obviously a massive loss in coin. He's in my starting lineup at the moment. I can't trade him on because if I trade him on, I'm looking to bring in like a Jamar Chase or a CD, or I've got Rashee Rice, but again, another option there. So I think that we're just going to roll the dice on a Dunze for another week, and then trades Dunze the week after. Again, depends on your situations. Like for mine, I've got Tucker Craft that has to go first. But if you have Roma Dunze, I feel as though he can go if you can. But again, it's not a bad play. You have to play him another week either. He's got a break even of 28, I think it is. So very achievable. He might not lose much coin, but again, the 28 also could be one of those scores that he could hit as well. So he averages 26 in the year. So 28 is very achievable to score. So I think if you can keep him for one more week, you can. But again, we're not keeping him for the remainder of the year. He's definitely a trade out target at some point.
Really like the bounce back spot for Dunze this week up against the Giants. And yeah, that one slipped through the cracks. That DNP, it just absolutely buried him. Very lucky that we got bailed out there. And I think in turn, Mav, with that situation, having to play a Dunze this week just to kind of get you through the bye coverage, very similar to Ted McMillan. He did lose cash again this week, but same thing. If you've got him on your bench and you need him to cover that spot, they do have the Saints up against this week, and the Saints are clearing house. They moved a couple of defensive pieces as well before the trade deadline there. So I think he should have a decent game with Bryce Young under censor. And then you could probably look to move him out after that. He's a 14 break even, could make a bit more cash for you this week before you move him on. Deebo Samuel, Mav, I know you were super high on Deebo. Hopefully you got rid of him a few weeks ago, but he lost you $2 million this week. And of course, with Jaden Daniels going down, he's going to have Marcus Mariota. The Commanders are they're going to be a dumpster fire by the end of the year. So I don't think Deebo will see brighter days ahead if you do have him there.
Nah, he's got to go as well. He's another one that has to go. So it's a shame. Maybe in a couple of weeks he might be, depending on how he goes, a trade-in candidate, but I doubt it. You don't want him in your team at the end of the year. But yeah, he has to go if you own him right now. He probably has to go as quickly as this week. Otherwise, you can always even more money on him. So it's a big loss in $2 million, and you can't take another hit. So if you own him, got to go.
Yeah, 37 break even too. He will not hit that whatsoever with Mariota. Nico Collins, Mav, the last guy that we have, over 10% owned, 13 million, 41 break even. Looking like CJ Stroud will miss this upcoming week with that concussion, so we'll get the Davis Mills experience. Nico was okay with Davis Mills. He still had a lot of targets, but again, it's just not what we need. And even before CJ Stroud going down, the Texans have just been an absolute dump. So Nico Collins as well, if you do have him, is he one that you'd be looking to move or you want to hang on to him? They've got the Jags, Tennessee, and then Buffalo the next three.
Yeah, I'm very happy that I traded out Nico Collins in week 8, I think it was, when he had the concussion and he missed. Was that week 8 from memory? Was that their bye week? So they had a bye week in week 6, and I think it was week 8 that he missed. So, yeah, I'm very happy that I traded him out then, because I just don't think at any point he's actually been really dominant throughout the year. He's had his biggest score in the year is 36 points against the Jags, and he's obviously got them this week. So if that's any confidence for you, he might be okay. But again, we probably want Stroud in before we want Davis Mills. So outside of that, he's been really average. I think he's averaging 20 points a game, Nico Collins. So it's nothing really to brag about. So I could understand why you trade him on. He's $13 million, so there's still a bit of life left in him there. You could only, could put in an extra $4 or $5 million and get someone good, but he may go down another $500,000 at the end of the week. So I just don't think he's in a good situation at the moment. The Texans, the offense is pretty bad, and offensive line's pretty bad too. And he's not really going off, is he?
Massive letdown, Nico Collins. I think I had him as my wide receiver 4 to start the year, and that's been a massive egg on my face with that one. Can't win them all. Tight ends. Mav, and I know you guys, as soon as I mentioned that, you yawn on command. That's you love it. Travis Kelce on buy, 12.6% owned, just under 12 million. Absolutely get rid of him. You've got much better options that we will touch on later on. Tucker Kraft, of course, it is a tough and sad sell, but he's done for the year. ACL confirmed. Luckily, he is worth 14.3 million, so you won't have any dramas finding a great replacement there. Jake Ferguson, Mav, again, he's on buy, 27 break even. I think he probably starts to lose a bit of cash when they come off the buy. CD should look to step up. Kind of on the same turn, he moving out from Ferg this week while on buy.
Yeah, I would, and you could be in a brutal situation where you own Ferguson and Kraft. So you'd have to make two trades there possibly. So yeah, I hate the theory and the thought of trading two tight ends if that's what you have. But Tucker Kraft obviously has to go. He's holding a lot of value at $14 million, so we can make money there. But yeah, Ferguson, yeah, I definitely agree. Now that Pickens is healthy, been healthy the whole year, but CD being healthy, I suppose Javont has been pretty good for the majority of the year. So I think that the targets will get passed around a little bit more now that CD's back in the house, and unfortunately Jake Ferg will take a small little hit because of that. So yeah, absolutely, Fergie has probably got to go, and there's probably a clear trade in target too, which we'll go on a bit later on for that one. So yeah, he probably has to go, to be fair.
And the last guy in tight ends before we get on to kickers, Tyler Warren. He's the most owned there, 57.5%, 11.5 million. He lost just over 800 grand last week. Break even of 38. They do have their buy coming up in 2 weeks' time in week 12. I know for me, looking at it, I'm probably just going to roll with Tyler Warren this week. Hopefully he doesn't lose me too much cash. He's done pretty poorly the last 2 weeks, 14 points against Tennessee, 10 points against Pittsburgh. They do have the Falcons this week over in Berlin, so international game. That could be anything. Who knows? Falcons could win that game against the Colts. That wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. But Tyler Warren for you, similar scenario. Like if you've got, I know just looking at my team, I've got Fannin Jr. and Tyler Warren. I think Tyler Warren probably scores more this week, so I'm happy to just save a trade. Look to move Warren after his buy in week 12, and maybe George Kittle or someone else has come down in price, so I can kind of make that move. But what are you kind of looking at when it comes to Tyler Warren for week 10?
I'm actually looking to move him on this week. I'm just still tinkering with my trades a little bit, but I am planning to get rid of him. So there's a clear trading target who's $5 million less. That's no real surprise to what I've just said. But again, I'm looking to make money to upgrade elsewhere. So I think Tyler Warren has probably done his job now. And again, I don't really start him any given week. He just sits on my bench for the majority of the time. And now that we're past majority of the bye weeks for tight ends and top tight ends as well, there's only one tight end that hasn't done his bye at the top tight end, and it's George Kittle, but I'm not looking to trade him in. But outside of that, everyone else has had their bye. So I think it's time to make some money and get your two tight ends in that you think will be in your starting lineup for the end of the year, until the end of the year. Sorry.
Yeah, I can't wait till we bring up that name that you mentioned. A nice little cheap option. What a stud! Kickers. Again, we do need to preface. We don't really want to be trading kickers and defenses or willy-nilly a lot of the weeks. But if you say, for instance, if somehow you do have Brendan Aubrey, I'm trying to think of a cheap kicker that's on buy. Maybe even if you had a loop option from one of these teams as well, and you have to move them, you're gonna have to burn a trade. You don't want to put up zeros in those spots for a week. But Harrison Butker, he's just under 4% owned, 8 million. You can move him on. Brendan Aubrey again, I wouldn't be looking to if I had Tyler Loop. If you had that cheap option from the start of the year, you can just swing him in for this week and leave Aubrey on the bench. Joey Sly, I think he could probably go no matter what. He's on buy for the Titans, 10.27 million. He's been on a downturn the last couple of weeks. That's one I'd be looking to move. Defenses, Mav, we'll just run straight into that. I think the only one, even though it is probably hard, and again, you don't want to be burning a trade, but the 49ers, they've just lost their first-round pick in Michael Williams, their defensive edge. for him, he was playing very good for those guys. They've lost Nick Bosa. They've lost Fred Warner. Now losing him. Defense is just decimated, but just over 4.3 million and 15 break even. Are you willing to burn a trade on the 49ers, or you just ride them on the pine and save the trade somewhere else?
Yeah, I mean, I've been riding it with them for the majority of the year, and I can't get rid of them. It's hard, but if you can, sure, absolutely. But I'm trying to trade them out. I really am, but I just there's too many injuries or other fixes I need to do before I need to trade or fix defenses. So again, a bit of a luxury trade.
It is for sure. We don't have many of those at this point of the year. But trade-ins, the better part of tonight's show. Quarterback, again, a guy that we just keep mentioning, Drake May. We are getting closer to his week 14 bye. But again, if you want to go a little bit different from the crowd and you love Drake May like we do here, he's just over 23.5 million, just under 5% owned. So nice little pod still. 39 break even. He did make 370K this week. And the next 4 matchups are actually pretty juicy. Tampa Bay, the Jets, who have just cleared house, the Bengals, and then the Giants. So, Matt, for you with Drake May, I mean, if you did move off Patty Mahomes, doesn't really make much sense bringing in Drake May when he's got the bye in 4 weeks at this point. Is that kind of how you're seeing that one?
Unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately, because you're just shifting the problem in a month's time. So, unfortunately, that's not the move to make. Unfortunately, I don't think Drake May is a trade-in target because of his upcoming bye, because then you'll be looking to trade him out. So, unfortunately, I'd be looking at, well, not really unfortunately, but guys like Lamar, Josh Allen are the 2 guys. If I'm trading out Mahomes, I'm bringing those 2 in. I'd love to bring in Drake May. I've got Drake May personally, but again, he'll be a trade-out target for me in a month's time when I have to move him on. I'm not playing wet sock at that point in time. I'm playing a premium QB. So, Drake May's been fantastic, and that upcoming schedule is also fantastic. So the guys that have him will keep him, and they'll reap the rewards of having that juicy schedule.
Yeah, and you did touch on Lamar and Josh Allen. Good point of conversation here. Josh Allen, so he made 150K this week. Again, this will be probably the second lowest price besides last week that he'll be for the rest of the year. Just over 24.7 million, 42% owned, 32 break even. You can pretty much lock him in for 50 points each week. Next 3, Miami, Tampa Bay, and Houston. Next 2 is pretty nice. Houston, that could be anything, but Josh Allen can do it whichever way you'd like. So if you do need to move on from Drake May, Josh Allen's a nice easy one. You might look to do that maybe yourself when it gets to that point of the year. But Lamar Jackson, at the moment, and this is a dilemma that I'm kind of sitting on. I've got Mahomes. I've got JJ starting at the moment. Bring him off the bench. I wanted to bring Lamar in. He was in there at the point of time. 27.5 million. His break even is 77 though. He did drop 1.5 million this week after putting up 50 points. So I'm kind of thinking if I just wait a week, ride out JJ McCarthy, save a trade, I could probably get him a little bit cheaper next week for Lamar. But how do you see Lamar back? Hopefully he looks to run more this week as well. But yeah, how are you feeling?
Well, next 2 weeks against Minnesota and I think it's Cleveland, top of my head.
Yeah,
tough matchups, very tough matchups. So good run defenses. They'll be honest on him, and they'll sit there and make sure that he doesn't kill him. But yeah, at the same time, I think Lamar Jackson. He'll find a way, won't he? So yeah, I mean, if I had to, is it? Actually, no. He does have Minnesota and Cleveland. If I had to pick between one or 2, I'd probably go with Josh Allen. If I had to pick, but I'll also understand if you do have Josh Allen already, Lamar Jackson's the obvious easy pick. So that's where I sit. Again, the end game is always going to be Lamar and Josh Allen, the 2 QBs, and eventually you'll probably get there. Unfortunately, Drake May, I'd loved him to have that pod, the difference to everyone else, but it's just the buy that kills him. But no, that's how I see it anyway. It's going to be Lamar and Josh to the end, and maybe Mahomes if you bring him in next week onwards.
And JJ McCarthy, we did touch on him. Is it worth? He did make 3 and a bit million last week, 3.6 to be exact. -8 break even. Baltimore, Chicago, Green Bay. So the next 2 weeks at least are going to be decent for him. If you are looking to downgrade, is it fine just to bring in JJ Wetsock McCarthy at this point of the year?
Yeah, it is. It is. It's fine. But again, this is probably the last week to do it. -8 break even, so we'll probably make another. What is it roughly? I think it's going to be $1.5 million roughly. So that'll put it into about nines, something around there. So you'd probably want to get onto it now to maximize if you want to. But Baltimore, Chicago, Green Bay coming up. So again, I haven't really been too impressed, even though he had 3 touchdowns on the weekend. But I still haven't been too impressed by the way he's been going. But we'll see how that goes. But not too late to trade him in if you need to.
Yeah, it's hard to really change names from what we've been talking over the last couple of weeks because we're trying very hard to move away from the chalk in terms of SuperCoach. But I wanted to throw a couple of things at you just to see what you thought. Jacoby Brissett, it is looking like Kyler will miss the next 4 to 8 weeks with that foot injury. If you want to go super pottish, is 11.7 million, under 1% owned, -23 break even. Is there any interest whatsoever in bringing in Brissett at this? He's got Seattle, 49ers, Jacksonville, and Tampa the next 4 weeks.
Short answer, no.
How about this? You're looking at a cheaper option. You want to go deeper than JJ McCarthy. Say you've got extra trades to burn. You've already got Lamar. You've got Josh Allen, and you're thinking, I can cash in on McCarthy now, or maybe even Cam Ward. Shedeur Sanders. I've been hearing whispers that the Cleveland Browns are going to give him the last 4 weeks of the year just to see what they have. They know what Dylan Gabriel looks like. Do you think it would be a little bit savvy potentially bringing in Shedeur maybe early if you've got Cam Ward on the bench? You can save about 6 or 7 million in that cash, and he might do something at the back end of the stretch. Or how would you play that one out?
Short answer, no. No, I'd have to actually get him to start before I trade him in.
Yeah.
Hey, look, he may be an option in a month's time. He very well may be, but until then, it's hard to trade him in. But again, if you wanted to make some money, right? If you were sick of Jackson Dart and you just want to make some money and you wanted to trade to someone who was bottom dollar, Shedeur's probably the best person in that area to start. So if you were to do it, I understand. But again, I don't think he's going to be playing. I personally think he'll be playing it all this year. But if he does, it'll be back end, very back end. It could be week 17 he starts. He gets his first start and only start.
Yeah, it's a risky one. And even if he does start, it's going to be gross for the Cleveland Browns that back end of the year. Running backs to bring in, again, a lot of familiar names from last week. Guys that still have their bye to come. JT has got the bye in week 12 and CMC in the bye week 14 bye. JT has kind of come a little bit down to earth. We were kind of hitting on that he might not have a great game up against that defense for the Steelers. 63 break even. I think he still made money. Oh no, 840K. So cheapest that he's been for a while. Is there any chance of bringing him in down the stretch, Mav? Because looking at it, they've got Seattle this week. Oh no, I'm looking at a different matchup. They've got Atlanta this week. So again, kind of middle of the road when it comes to up against the run. So week 11 bye, they do go on. So you kind of have to wait a little bit more time there. But then after their bye, Kansas City, Houston, Jacksonville, Seattle. So you've got 4 tough matchups, and then you go into 49ers, Jacksonville, Houston again. Is there any world where you can paint a picture? I know yourself and Secko, unfortunately, don't have JT to this point. Is that at all on the cards? Like, are you kind of thinking maybe after the bye, he has a couple of down games against these tough defenses, drops a few mil, might be able to slot him in for the stretch home? Or at that point, is it just better off to move on to someone else?
Well, mate, I'll be honest with you. I've currently got McCaffrey, Bijan, Jameer, and James Cook. So I feel like I'm pretty set. The only reason why I might get him at any point is when McCaffrey does have his week 14 bye, I think, for memory. Hopefully by then, JT has come down a significant amount. We've actually made some money on it. Because, again, despite his price being so damn high, his break even is going to be even higher in a week's time when those scores are removed from his break even, and he's holding scores of 13 or whatever he had on the weekend. I can't remember what he had. Was it 13, 14, whatever
Yeah,
it
it wasn't good. Yeah, 13. Yeah, you're right.
And maybe another lower score in that. So eventually, what goes up must come down, and that's his price. So yeah, maybe in week 14, JT might come to my squad for CMC. But outside of that, I think Bijan, Gibbs, and Cook in my squad, for example, are locked in. I'm not looking to trade them. They haven't got any upcoming buys, so they're in. It's just McCaffrey for JT might be the play eventually. But again, if you own him, yeah, he's going to lose your money for you eventually, and I think you expected that at some point too, because again, it just wasn't stable, and it was never going to be stable when he's at $27 million. That's just unrealistic amount for a running back. It's very, very tough to hold that sort of value and consistency at that skill position. So he will come down. What that price will look like in a month's time or 2 weeks' time will be the unknown, but it will come down.
Yeah, and I do have to correct myself. I was looking at, he didn't lose cash this week. He still made 50K, but is projected 840K loss next week, given those projections. But yeah, he's been flying way too close to the sun.
Be the one.
Yeah,
it'll be like 70 or 80 the week after. Yeah, that's when it will hurt, because he'll lose those big scores. So yeah, that's when it will come down significantly, and the break even will be super, super high.
Well then, Mav, in turn, because I do have here another scenario, and it is a little bit selfish of me because it is for my team. But JT, say for instance, I'm sure there's a lot of JT owners out there. We've got a couple of guys on our WhatsApp that are already throwing out there as JT a sell at this point in time. Here's the buy next week, so you've got this matchup against Atlanta in Berlin. Do you think it'd be worth it to jump ahead of that curve, trade him out a week early before he loses you more cash, bring in Jahmyr Gibbs, who's got a 26 break even? Gibbs, the Lions do have the Commanders this week, which is, again, they're super banged up. Is that something you'd maybe be looking to do? Because I mean, you'd save $8 million on that. But then again, at this point of the year, do you really need that much cash moving forward?
Yeah, and look, to be honest with you, mate, I'm just going to put JT down to one bad week. That's literally all I'm going to put it down to. He's just dominated to this point, and he's probably the reason why you're having such a good year. He's on the back of JT. So it'd be rough and probably disrespectful to move him on a week early. Do you trade him in the bye week is really the question. That'll be an interesting point of conversation for next week. Again, it depends on your buy cover, but I just wouldn't trade him this week. It's just, unfortunately, wouldn't even consider it.
Yeah, I think at this point of the year too, save the trades where you can, play the buys, move him out when you need to. CMC, pardon me, we did mention, if you don't have him already, week 14 buy coming up, he did make 1.1 million, 54 break even, so he might come down a little bit. They do have the Rams this week, so then again, that could be anything there. Bijan, he lost you some cash, 2.6 million cheaper. If you don't have him already, great spot to bring him in. Probably could even wait another week even. 75 break even. So again, that you'd expect him to lose a bit more cash. To be exact, SuperCoach is projecting him to lose another 1.7 million. So he'll come under that $19 million mark, which would be nice. So you can bring him in then. Derrick Henry, if you are looking at different options outside of those top four, 18 break even. They do have Minnesota and then into Cleveland next week. So again, might be a little bit tough doing that. Josh Jacobs, Mav, I think another one here. 54 break even. He's lost 1.2 million. Next three, Carolina, the Eagles, and the Giants. But with that news to Tucker Kraft, I think for me, Jacobs has locked himself into that fourth spot with that Tucker Kraft injury. I think he's come back. He's healthier off that calf injury. They're going to rely on him more in that running game to move this offense. How are you feeling about Josh Jacobs with that Tucker Kraft injury?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think that will be a massive beneficial play for Josh Jacobs, the fact that Tucker Kraft is out injured now. I definitely agree that he'll see probably more work and more touches and probably even more consistent, well, even high consistency and bigger upside, lower floor, higher ceiling. So for fantasy, that's great. If you want to compare him to like a James Cook, I think I'd take him over or Josh Jacobs over James Cook. And then he's probably in that Jimmy Gibbs category. Unfortunately, Jimmy Gibbs, though, he has those big weeks and then he has those bad weeks as well. It comes down to the fact that David Montgomery's in the house and he's going to take touches off him and he's a vulture. He'll get touchdowns off him. But Jimmy Gibbs has the capabilities of going 50, 60, 70 in a week. But then it also has that ability to go less than 10 or less than 20 as well. So he's probably on par with Jimmy Gibbs, but the consistency is better, but lower ceiling.
The last name that we've got here, Mav, here's a little cheapy option. He did make a whole heap of cash last week, 2.3 million to be exact. Cole Monongai. They've got the Giants, Minnesota, Pittsburgh coming up. Looking like Swift might miss another week. -3 break even. Is he someone that you'd be looking to bring in if you are looking to downgrade, or do you think it's a bit too late after all that cash is made?
Yeah, probably a bit too late. And Swift will probably come back in and take the majority of the touches. Monongai, they won't completely phase him out, but unless Monongai is the starting running back, there's probably no real value or point bringing him in.
Wide receivers, again, very similar names to what we had last week here. We are playing the buyers. If you don't have these key guys, try to bring them in where you can. Puka Nacua from the top is just under 20 million. Lost you 1.5 million and could get cheaper again. He's got a 62 break even. Don't have Puka yet. You could run the risk of waiting one more week. And like you mentioned, Mav, he is dealing with that injury as well. So it could do a world of good if you do wait one more week for Puka. One guy that I wouldn't wait on if you do not have him yet, JSN. Have to bring him in. He's under 20 million, 35 break even. He made just over $1 million this week. And he could just keep going up, even with the Shaheed trade coming over. He's still going to get a whole heap of work. Justin Jefferson, 30 break even. Lost a bit of cash this week as well after his first performance with Wet Sock after his injury. 30 break even. Baltimore, Chicago, Green Bay. So not a bad stretch of 3 games coming up. Should be a lot of points. Amon-Ra St. Brown. I pulled the trigger on him probably a week early, but he is just under $1 million cheaper than where he is in a 32 break even. So if you don't have him yet and you don't have enough cash to get to Puka or JSN just yet, he's at 17.5 million. He could be a nice trade in. And Drake London, probably the big winner. One that I think last week, Mav, we ranked 4 guys, Puka, JSN, JJ, and Drake. And Drake was that bottom of that list. And of course, he top scores and absolutely gives it to them all. But 3 touchdowns, he's not going to do that every week. I think Secko was mentioning he'll probably have another 2 big games for the year for him. But how do you feel about Drake London? I know that 3 touchdowns, not sustainable whatsoever in one game, but they don't have anybody else to pass it to. I know they've got Kyle Pitts, who's a very close second. Had to throw him in there. But yeah, Drake London, he made you $2 million this week, 21 break even. Is he someone that you'd be looking to move in, or would you rather Amon-Ra or even Justin Jefferson at that point?
Yeah, I have got him in my squad. He probably will stay for the remainder of the year. I don't love it. I don't think it's a sexy pick. I don't think I don't. Yeah, it doesn't really get me going in any sort of way. I don't look at my team and go, "Oh shit, I've got Drake London. I'm flying." But again, Penix loves peppering him, but Penix can also be very, very bad too, which is a big detriment to Drake London's scoring in any given week, because that's how bad that Penix can be. So, look, 3 touchdowns, as you said, it's probably a one-off. I'd be surprised if he does it again this year. But then again, they do have Tampa Bay coming up in week 15, so that could be the only week of potential for that one. But yeah, he's okay. He's okay. He's currently got a bit higher price than Rashee Rice and CD Lamb and Amon-Ra St. Brown at the moment. So I don't expect him to hold that for too long. But I don't put him in a higher category than those 2 players anyway. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'm the same there with you on Drake London. Couple little pods, perhaps, Mav, just to try and get the wheels turning and switch things up. Marvin Harrison Jr., 6.9% owned. 10.5 million, 6 break even. And again, with Jacoby Brissett, he's looked much better with Brissett. Brissett can definitely run this offense a whole lot better than what Kyler can do. It looks after the past few weeks. How do you feel about Marv? Is that, or at this point, again, you really don't need to be going towards these mid-price players whatsoever. You really want to be sticking to these key guys. But maybe if you do need to move away from Jamar Chase or someone like that, is he someone savvy to bring in if you feel a little bit risky? Or is there a better option there in that
No,
mid-price?
but I don't believe this time of the year it's the right idea to bring in mid-price players, to be honest. So I'm sort of sticking away. I don't think he's going to hold top 15, top 20, maybe top 20, but not top 15 value for the remainder of the year. So we only start 6 wide receivers. So we want someone in top 10 at least to make it worthwhile, not a guy who's who might be top 20.
How about AJ Brown? Mav, he's had a bit of a resurgence, 4.3%, -7 break even. And the rest of season schedule, let me just read it out to you. Green Bay, Detroit, Dallas, Chicago, the Chargers, Raiders, Washington, Buffalo, and then Washington again. Like I mean, looking at it, Jalen Hurts, pretty decent quarterback. Again, his passing's been a little bit questionable at time, but the last 3 weeks they've been running a whole lot more play action, or besides the bye last week, a whole lot more play action. He's looking a bit more involved. Trade deadline has passed. He's definitely staying on this team like they were talking about. AJ Brown, I mean, if you don't have enough cash somehow to get in another primo option, I think he's probably your next best bet out of those top key guys.
It's probably best you don't ask me this question, man. I've been burnt by him already this year. So my emotional state with AJ Brown isn't at a really high level at the moment. So no, he's not coming into my squad and probably will never play for my squad ever again. So no, he's not coming in at all. But the problem is he's too inconsistent. Despite the schedule and everything like that, you know, he can have some big weeks, but then he'll have like, I don't know, 2 catches for 34, 35 yards. Like it's just far too inconsistent for me to really decide if I want him or not. But yeah, the big games are like, oh shit, I like his big games, but his bad games got a really super low floor. Like high floor. Sorry, is it high floor? High floor. He could have a catchless game, and we don't want that. So, well, a catchless game would be good to get a DNP, but he could have a 1 catch game, and that'll kill you. So, yeah, no thanks.
How about last name before we get on to wide receivers? I swear, Jack Besh, potential cheapie if you are just trying to scrape the bottom of the barrel. Yeah, absolutely dirt cheap. 7 break even. Myers is gone. Again, I don't think he did anything last week. Don't think he had any catches or any targets or anything like that. But maybe now there could be signs of life. And if you do need to manipulate some cash around, he's the bottom of the barrel, and he might make a little bit if he does get an opportunity the final 9 weeks of the year. So Jack Besh, Mav, how about that one?
Yeah, close eye. Keep a close eye on him now that Jacoby's not there. Look, I personally don't think they'll play him that much. But keep a close eye to see if that has changed, because he's a cheap option that you could bring in for a Ted McMillan or something like that, and make some money there. But I dare say they'll play Trey Tucker and Bowers, and probably got a couple of other receivers there, top of my head, that I can't think of. But just keep a close eye on him. If he does come on and starts playing, and then yes, absolutely he'll be a trading target. But you can't trade him in now. You can't do it now. There's really no upside doing it now. But yeah, he could be if he has a good week this week and gets featured and suddenly decides to catch some balls and play some snaps. And yeah, he could be definitely a trading target for week 11.
Tight ends, Mav. We've got one name here that does have a late buy. We did mention him at the start of the show. George Kittle, just over 14 million. He's got a 42 break even. Could be another showing with Mac Jones this week. Again, it's up in the air with Brock Purdy with that injury and all the time that he's missed so far. Kyle Shanahan, the head coach, just loves feeding lies. He's down 1.5 million, or just under 1.4. Are you waiting until the week 14 buy to bring in George Kittle? It just doesn't make any sense at this point bringing him in, do you think, or how are you playing that one out?
Yeah, I don't think he's coming into my team this year. Unfortunately, that late buy stops that from happening. So in my team, for example, I've got Tucker Kraft and I've got Trey McBride, and on my bench I've got Tyler Warren. So what I'm personally going to be doing is I'll be moving Tucker Craft on to Brock Bowers after that 3-touchdown game. He's now looking healthy.
yeah.
He's just come off a 5-week rest, I suppose, from that knee injury, and that's what he needed. He needed a rest. It needed to be mended, and he just needed to sit there and rest, and that's what he's done. Came out, looked very good, looked very healthy. I don't like Geno Smith at all. I actually disliked Geno Smith, but he's a gunslinger. He's careless with the ball, and we love that for fantasy football. Someone who just slings it. So Brock Bowers will obviously be a featured target. He's number one now without Jacoby Myers. So I think he has to come into your squad for Tucker Craft if that's what you own, or who you own, should I say. And Tyler Warren's probably got to go as well for Colston Loveland. Colston Loveland has a negative 29 break even. He's at $6.26 million at the moment. And his break even, he'll probably make another $1.5 million, give or take. And Warren to Loveland's price in a couple of weeks will be close. It'll be within a couple of $1 million. So I think Loveland has to come in now, and Brock Bowers is the certain easy choice. Unfortunately, we didn't have Bowers at the start of the year when we thought he'd be the tight end one. Got that injury in week 1, but now Bowers is here, so it's time to reap the rewards of Bowers being healthy and the only option on the receiving end.
Yeah, Brock Bowers, wow, minus 14 break even, made just under $2 million after that massive 3-touchdown game. Now, straight out the gate off the bye, didn't need a week to warm up. He was straight in, absolutely loving it. You can just see how much of an impact he makes on that offense too, because Geno actually looked solid. He had that very reliable weapon, and you can just give Brock Bowers the ball any area of the field, and he'll just get to work with it. Very easy trade, Tucker Craft to Brock Bowers. You'll make a little bit of cash on the back end too. That's the only trade I'll make this week. That's very simple. And Loveland, of course, is going to make you a whole heap of cash. Trey McBride, though, Mav, I do want to throw him out there too. He's on the higher end. He's $15.4 million. He's got a 7 break even. He will probably look to keep going up. And again, Jacoby there for the next 4 to 8 weeks. He's definitely improved him. I'm just trying to think, like, if you had to pick McBride and Bowers, it's Bowers clear for you, given the cost difference, the break even, and everything like that? Or do you see McBride, do you kind of want to have him at the end of the year? And I even give you top three ranking of SuperCoach off your head for tight ends. It's really George Kittle, Brock Bowers, Trey McBride. How would you kind of order those rest of the year to play out if you had to lay it
out? Look, I would probably go Bowers into McBride into Kittle. That's how I had it at the start of the year, and that's how I've got it now. I really like McBride. He's consistent. He has been a high upside as well, but Brock Bowers, as we saw on the weekend, for example, first game back, has 12 catches and 3 touchdowns. I don't think McBride's capable of doing that in the offense with the QB or any QB that he's got, and also Marvin Harrison and Michael Wilson, and I guess we'll have Trey Benson back at some point as well. Like, the offense just doesn't allow McBride to have 12 catches for 3 touchdowns. So I think Bowers is the easy one, easy number one for me, and then McBride and then Kittle. So, but yes, I'm going to have at the end of the year, or even by the end of the week, I'll have McBride and Bowers as my 2 tight ends, and I'll be stoked with that. So, I had that in week 4, it didn't work out, but hopefully in week 10, week 11, and onwards, it'll finally be there.
Yeah, fingers crossed, no more injuries come out the gate for those guys. Last but not least, little cheap option. If you want to go super cheap, cheaper than Loveland, Luke Musgrave filling in for Tucker Craft now that he's gone. 3.6 million, 0.2% owned, and 8 break even. Again, please don't expect that he's going to come in and do what Tucker Craft did. Tucker Craft is just an absolute beast of a human. He's on a different planet compared to Luke Musgrave. They did draft Musgrave before him in that rookie class. I think it was 3 years ago now. But Tucker Craft came out the gate swinging, and he quickly earned that role. But if you are going even cheaper than Colston Loveland, Luke Musgrave could be a good one there too. Kickers, Mav, we'll run through these quickly. Guys, pass the bye. If you do need to bring someone in, Chris Boswell, he's been pretty solid the last few weeks. 12.6 million, 8 break even, can't go wrong. Cam Little, Mav, are you ready to get hurt again? I know you moved him out after that 68-yard field goal, setting the new NFL record. Is that just, you just got to bring him in because of that?
That was always going to happen, wasn't it? Like, anyone I trade out goes off, so that was always going to happen. But no, I don't think he's okay. I don't think he's a must trade, must have in his position. He's currently ranked as where is he here? The 13th best kicker at the moment. So, like, again, 3 points separate him and first, and that's between first and 13th. So it's pretty crazy how close it is there. But no, I don't think anyone's a must own in kickers, to be fair. Maybe Albury, but he's on buy. But kickers are. But yeah, you have to get pretty lucky with kickers any given week. So no.
Yeah, it's gross. Just keep rolling with what you have. Hopefully, we've got a couple of guys there. Hopefully, yeah, both aren't on buy at the same time. In defense, team that we had last week, the only team, the Ravens, yeah, they just look so much better up against Miami. Miami definitely helped with that. They made 1.4 million last week. They've got a -11 break even, and the schedule over the next few weeks is just juicy. The Vikings this week, it is at Minnesota, but JJ, again, he's been pretty hit or miss. Then they run into Cleveland. Dylan Gabriel, they will absolutely slaughter that Cleveland offense from the defensive point of view. And then New York Jets after that. So if you do, for instance, if you had a spare trade up your arm, 49ers to the Ravens, hopefully you did it last week. But if not, you'll have to pay up about 500K, but they should be good. And I think even season long, Mav, at the back end, the Ravens could be a nice little keeper. I know looking at the final weeks, you might want to not play them when they're playing Cincinnati in weeks 13 and 15, but all of the other games outside of that look to be pretty nice matchups. How are you feeling about the Ravens moving forward?
Defenses, mate. It's hard to predict them.
Yeah.
You need to get takeaways, turnovers, sacks. That's just the game. And if you can keep them to low scores as well, even better. They're just so hard to predict. So unfortunately, there's probably about 15, 16 teams you can probably rule out of having, and then the rest of them you can obviously put them in consideration. But the Ravens, they don't really excite me defensively. They are slightly getting a bit healthier as well. But as you said, but again, like nothing really. Like they had 30 points on the weekend, which is fantastic. But yeah, they might keep them to low scores with no takeaways.
Yeah, they could do. And again, like we mentioned at the start, you don't really want to be burning too many trades on kickers and defenses. Hopefully, you've got you've worked around the buys and you're not stuck with two guys on the same buy. They are at trade-ins for this week. I think there is a couple of good names there. Hopefully, you can, from these situations and scenarios, you can put some plans in the head and get your trades locked in for week 10. Couple of captain's options too that we're missing this week, and we will have our captain's huddle show dropping first thing in the morning. Could be a couple of nice little sneaky ones to help get you through if you are stuck for options there. Questions. Thanks heaps for everybody throwing these in the comments. We'll get through purely just trade dilemma questions, whether it be for SuperCoach or traditional fantasy. If you are watching on YouTube, please smack that big like button, hit subscribe and ring that bell, and you'll be notified when we drop shows each week. Let's get to it, Mav. From the top, we had one here from Charles. Again, double Broncos, double Brisbane pick. You love that. Hello, gents. SuperCoach question. Want to bring in St. Brown, but I need a rock bottom price cheapie. Is it too early to jump on Musgrave for Waller or Golden to Jamari Thrash? Open to suggestions. So Jamari Thrash, definitely not. Don't bring him in. He's not going to be worth anything. How do you feel about this one, Mav? I think Musgrave to Waller, you probably save. I think it's 3 million. That's probably the one that stands out the most. But if you do have Matthew Golden, I'd also be looking to get rid of him too.
Yeah, the Waller for Musgrave makes sense. So that's probably the one that I've moved to if I had to. Outside that, the other cheapy options are just the real desperate deep plays. So yeah, Musgrave makes the most sense.
Yeah, love it. One from Ian. Hello, gents. Tucker Craft to Bowers, Mayfield to Allen. Let's sock in the flex. Yeah, I love it. If you can do that, Mayfield to Allen, that's great. Nice easy one there. From Max William here. Hey guys, you need your help. If you're able to, what do you think of me trading JT and Marvin Harrison Jr. for CD and James Cook. If this is a super coach question, don't trade in CD while he's on the bye. But let's say it's traditional fantasy lens, Mav. Would you trade JT and Marv for CD and James Cook?
I think I would. I actually think I would.
Yeah, I think so too. JT might look to regress back into the year. Still got the bye. CD should pick up, and James Cook has been lights out. So, yeah, the other thing where you get burned is if Marvin Harrison Jr. comes through and he's the shows us why he was the 4th overall pick. But on the Cardinals with Brissett, not likely. One here from Theo. Do you think Bowers now with Myers traded out is a must? For sure. Absolutely bring him in. This will be the cheapest that you'll be able to get him besides last week if you got in early. One here from Alex. Looks like this is traditional fantasy. Just got offered Javonte Williams for Rico Dowdle. Would you take it 1 for 1? Now, this is tough, Mav, because I think Rico, he's taken over, honestly, for the Panthers. I don't think Chuba's going to get much work now for the rest of the year. They had Rico and used him, and they beat the Packers because of it. Would you let go of Javonte for Rico in this spot?
I mean, it's a definite sideways trade, isn't it? It depends on who's got the bigger upside, and Rico might have the bigger upside. So he's looking pretty good in that offense. I did like his celebration on the weekend. He was a bit of a smart ass and pulled off quite well. Maybe that celebration alone would be worth the trade. So look, I can understand why you do it, but could you try and get a little bit more onto it? Maybe, but a sideways trade's always an interesting one. You always ask yourself why, unless you think Rico Dowdle was a better player, which I probably don't disagree.
Yeah, and you probably need to ask yourself too. You're trading for a player on the bye, and you're getting rid of a guy that still has his bye to come. So you kind of want to play that out as well. I will just quickly pull up before we get on to the next one. I just want to check the rest of season schedule for both of these guys. For Dallas, after the bye, the Raiders, Philly, Kansas, Detroit, Minnesota, Chargers, Washington. Not a bad rest of the season. There is a couple of tough matchups there for Rico and the Panthers. What do they have? The Saints, Atlanta, 49ers, Rams, then bye. Saints, Tampa, Seattle in the playoffs compared to Minnesota, Chargers, Washington. I think it really comes down for me the playoff schedule, Mav. What do you prefer? Minnesota, Chargers, Washington for Javonte, or Saints, Tampa, Seattle for Rico?
I think I like Rico.
Yeah, me too. The Saints, I mean, week 15, gee, that's pretty much a lotto ticket to get into week 16. He could go ballistic. Absolutely ballistic there. That's enough there on that question there. Hopefully that's helped out you, Alex. One here from Daniel. Fellas currently ranked at season high of 91 overall. Wow, mate. Nice flex. That's well done. That's awesome rank to be top 100 at this point. Have the conundrum of Kraft and having the Dallas boys out. Oh, yeah. So, Mav, you picked it. Tucker Kraft, Jake Ferg. Oh, yeah. You might have to do trades. Yeah.
That's probably the boosting week. So, it depends what Dallas boys he's got, if that's CD or if that's Pickens or Ferg, really, I suppose, or he's got Dak. Who knows? But I doubt he's got Dak. Being 91 overall. But yes, I think if you want to protect that ranking, you probably have to move him on. If you've got CD, it's going to be a tough sell, really tough sell. It's going to feel really shit. But I don't think you'd feel shit trading either Javonte, Fergie, or Kraft. Obviously, has to go anyway. So I think it's boosting week, and I think if you don't have CD out of those guys, I think you feel pretty good.
Or even, but yeah, I guess it really is team context related. If you've got a cheap tight end that you can play this week, you could put Kraft on the bench and just move Ferg and get someone in for this week, to kind of move out Kraft later, perhaps if you don't. And then, same thing. If you have to pick between which one to keep CD and move Javonte and Jake Ferg out of those two if you can this week. One here from Ian. Will Odunze play this week? He absolutely will. Playing McMillan or Odunze. McMillan up against the Saints. Odunze, me too. I think he'll absolutely smash. Coming off that day game, we've got one here from Rakik as well. Ben Johnson's come out. No block, no rock. Rome was a monster in the run game last week. Finished the game with no catches on 3 targets. Yeah, I think he's going to bounce back in a massive, massive way here. One here from Josh Zapp. Boys trading Pickens for Pittman and Warren to Bowers. Have Mahomes on bye, but if I trade to Lamar, I can't get Bowers. thoughts. Warren Bowers, yep, of course you can do that. Yeah, what do you think, Mav? Pickens to Pittman. You're making about $6 million there. Again,
No,
Pittman,
I'm
you're
not
not
doing
going to have him
that.
rest of season. Yeah.
No. Upcoming bye in week
Yeah.
11, so there's no point bringing in Pittman. It's going to be the same problem next week. Warren to Bowers is fine, and have Mahomes and bye. But if I trade to Lamar, I can't get Bowers. Yeah, that's a tough problem to have. But
Yeah.
Pickens to Pittman's not the answer. If you want money and trying to get money, it's not Pittman, despite him being pretty good. But you're gonna just fixing the problem. Well, you're just handballing the problem next week, really.
What you could do, Pickens to Justin Jefferson, he's at 14.5 mil. You make, a few mil back there. Wait till Lamar comes down after his 77 break even. He probably won't hit that this week, so then you might be able to get him cheaper and move out Mahomes next week if you really want to. Yeah, tough spot, but I'm with you there, Mav. Don't bring in Pittman. He's on bye next week. What else do I have here? One here from Ian. Cardinals or Colts in terms of defenses? Colts, Atlanta, in Berlin, or the Cardinals have this week?
Cardinals have got Seattle, so probably play the Colts.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, I don't know, Mav. It's hard. Cardinals defenses look pretty good, and it's a hard one. That I don't know. I don't trust that Berlin game, but the Colts with getting Sauce Gardner, yeah, you'd probably yes. I think they'll both go close anyway. Not too much. I don't think either one will burn you this week. One is from AGZ. Penix, Rodgers, Fields, McCarthy, Mariota, Brissett. Who would you roll with this week? Gonna imagine it's traditional fantasy. Penix up against the Colts. Rodgers has Pittsburgh are playing Chargers, so Rodgers has Chargers. McCarthy has the Ravens. Mariota has Detroit. I definitely wouldn't play Mariota. Brissett, I wouldn't play Brissett either. So either Rodgers. Probably can't play Fields either. He's probably not playing this week. Probably Tyrod Taylor get the start.
Cleveland.
And they're playing Cleveland, yeah. So it's really Michael Penix, Aaron Rodgers, or JJ McCarthy.
I'd probably roll with the Penix, to be honest. They do have Indy, but that's probably the best of the lot. It's either between Penix or Rodgers, depending on what you think. But that's not a great position to be in, regardless.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, even McCarthy with the Ravens on a horrible matchup, and he didn't do too bad last week.
I'm going Rodgers.
Rodgers, yeah. I think I might go McCarthy. I just can't. Yeah, I can't get with Penix. I'm just not interested. And yeah, Rodgers, he's too old. What else we got here? I made Alex over in the States. Thanks for showing this one here. In here, Alex, nice and early. I bet earlier this week I traded Dowdle and Pickens for Kyron. Then Dowdle decided to go crazy again. But I feel good rest of season with Panthers schedule. Traded Dowdle and Pickens for Kyron. Yeah. So did you trade away Kyron? Then Dowdle decided to go crazy, but I feel good rest of the schedule. Yeah, I don't know. Not too sure which way that one is, Mav, but all in all, if you're getting trades done, we absolutely love it. Happy to see. One here from Ian. Oh, gee, thoughts. What's that? This is just the full team. Sorry, Ian. Trade dilemma questions only, my friend. Yeah, there's a lot there.
What names there, Ian?
Throw it into the YouTube comment section after this video gets posted fully, and we can get back to it there. Another one here from Alex. Thinking about trading Igbukah for Pittman since Baker been off lately, but I do love Igbukah. Nah, don't move Igbukah for Pittman. That's at the moment might seem a bit sidewaysy, but Igbukah rest of season, he should really take off in those. There's some massive injuries still to the Bucks with Evans and Chris Godwin not healthy. Here from Alex. No, I got Kyron. RB2 was in shambles. Now I have Bijan and Kyron. Dell and Pickens for Kyron. It's not. Oh well, it happens. It happens. You probably lost that in hindsight now, but you just can't pick it. All in all, Kyron's going to be pretty good rest of the year here. From Josh, I have JJ ready. Pittman was kind of the best of who I don't have. If I keep Pickens on bench, I have to play McMillan and Diggs. JJ ready. Pittman was kind of the best of who I don't have. If I keep Pickens on bench, I have to play McMillan and Diggs. I mean, all in all, McMillan will be fine this week. Diggs as well. The Pats they've got Tampa. Yeah, I'd be fine. Roland McMillan and Diggs, and Keishon Booty is not rest in peace. He'll miss this week with a hamstring and probably more to come. So yeah, Diggs, he'll be a nice start this week. I might actually have to have a look at a couple of what his lines are looking at as well. And following up Josh's app, only other thing I could do to free cash was to trade Pats to Arizona or defense to Ravens, possibly. Yeah, you probably save defense trades if you can. Do what you can with those two guys there. That's nice and easy. But those are all the questions. Thanks heaps all for throwing those in. A beast show, as always, on our Wednesday trade talk. We will have our captain title dropping in the morning, as per usual. Nice little 15-minute show. And our last show of the week going live tomorrow night. Our Week 10 primer and starts of the week. So make sure to get in there. You won't want to miss that one out as we close out the week, and also touch on all the injuries as well that we have updates on from there. So from myself, Mull here, and Mav tonight, thanks heaps, guys. Appreciate you tuning in.
See ya.